Hi, I'm Carl,
And I'm Ebony,
and
and
this
this
is
is
The
The
Loveless
Loveless
Marriage.
Marriage.
All right, we appreciate you all for tuning in for another Loveless Marriage podcast. Once again, my name is Carl Butler, for those who may be tuning in for the first time. Here with my lovely, beautiful, talented wife.
He tried to be real nice, y'all. Hi, y'all. I'm Ebony Butler, and I'm so glad that you decided to tune in to another episode of The Loveless Marriage.
All right, we're glad you all tuned in. First things first, before we begin, we want you all to subscribe and hit the like button.
Yes.
If you like the video, hit the little thumbs up at the bottom right there on YouTube, and also subscribe to our channel so you'll be one of the first to know when we have a new video. Also, we want you to follow us on social media right there in the center of your screen at The Loveless Marriage. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course YouTube at The Loveless Marriage across all social media platforms. Today, what are we talking about?
13 questions to ask before I do.
13 questions to ask before I do, or getting married, however you want to say it. Before you jump the broom, before you tie the knot, before you hook yourself to somebody for the rest of your life.
Before you sign your life away.
Pretty much. So we're doing 13 questions to ask before getting married, before saying I do.
Yes.
This is something that my wife actually brought to my attention because, so many times we make the decision to get married and we don't consider a lot of important questions that we should ask because we're so in love, we're so infatuated with this person, we want to spend the rest of our life with this person, that we neglect the main thing sometimes.
Yes, we neglect so great salvation. Hallelujah. No, but we're joking about it, but actually we had over this past weekend, my husband had the wonderful pleasure of preaching, and after the service we spoke to a young lady who is such a sweetheart, and she just recently got engaged. And one of her questions was, I want to talk to somebody that's a seasoned married woman. So I had to joke with her. I said, well, let me give you my prerequisite. This is my second marriage, so nothing's wrong with being married twice. I said, but I'm going to tell you what not to do, and I'm going to tell you what to do. So that kind of sparked Carl and I. We had a really great conversation with the young lady, and she was sincere and she was open. And from the looks of things and hearing about her fiance and her family, she has an excellent support system. So I think she'll be in pretty good shape. I think she will after our conversation. But she told us too, she said, I want to hear the bad stuff. Just don't tell me the good stuff, because I want to, to be, as prepared as you can. It's different when you're in it. But she was like, I feel everybody's talking about the good stuff and the flowery stuff. I want to talk about the real life stuff. So hence our conversation today.
Yeah, and that's what we do here on The Loveless Marriage.
Yes.
We're going to give you a lot of the bad because if you all have watched our previous videos, this is both our second marriage.
Yes.
And, combined, I think we said we had over 29 years of marriage experience. But, I think that we can help in what not to do.
Right.
Because a lot of times it's not what you should do, it's what you should not do. And so, we're going to talk about some things that you should consider. So once again, we're talking about 13 questions to ask before getting married.
Yes.
The first question that we're going to ask, that we're going to address on today, is how did your family handle disagreements?
So I want to know, did they throw plates? Did they calmly discuss things? Did they silently shut down when disagreements arose? How did you manage this thing called life and disagreement? So I'll ask you, Mr. Butler, how did your family, handle heated situations?
I saw a good mix.
Okay.
Those are good mix, definitely. And I think you have to have that. You have to have seeing a good mix, because a family that never argues, you never learn conflict resolution. And a lot of times, a lot of people can't handle conflict because they never saw, conflict in the house. conflict isn't a bad thing,
Right.
but you just have to know how to peacefully resolve conflict. As a matter of fact, I was looking at a study a while ago, and it said that people who attend college or university know how to handle conflict much better than those who didn't, because when you have to live in a dorm room situation with someone, when you're actually young and you're on your own, you have to resolve things on your own. But if you never get that experience and you go straight from high school to working a job, you never get the experience of how to resolve conflict, or you resolve it because you don't want to get fired from your job, not because you have to. And so I think seeing conflict is a good thing.
Yeah.
But then again, if you grew up in a family that conflict wasn't managed well, it could be a very bad thing. But this is what you have to find out before you get married, because however that person saw their family deal with conflict, that's how they are going to deal with it. A lot of things are learned. They're not genetic enhancements in us.
Right.
But so a lot of behavior is learned. So it's important to find out how that person's family dealt with conflict before you go into the marriage.
I agree. And I saw a healthy mix of both as well. I know one scripture in the Bible says, don't let your sun go down on, don't let your anger go down, when the sun, I forgot, I'm paraphrasing, but you all know the text just talks about, not going to bed angry, not going to bed upset. And that is a big thing, because sometimes you can be so frustrated with the situation. You like, but you have to honestly, God forbid, you don't know what can happen to your spouse.
Yeah.
We don't know when it will be our last breath. I would hate to have my last conversation with my spouse end in a negative way when I could have, peacefully resolved situations. And sometimes, you might have to shut down some, I don't agree with throwing plates. I never saw that. So I think Carl and I can both attest. Yeah. We've never saw physical violence take place in our family's life. So we didn't have any of that. And we're not physical with each other at all. So we don't tolerate, but sometimes situations get a little carried away and people do get a little physical. So, I do think that is a big deal. And especially, and then some people, I would say there are some families that are non-confrontational.
Yeah.
And that's not good either, because if you're trying to resolve something and you're like, oh, I don't want to confront this, I don't want to deal with this, that can be a major downfall too. If you're not openly, verbally, and expressing it. And just because you have a conflict, like you said, doesn't mean that the situation can't be resolved. Doesn't mean that, it's a bad thing that you're arguing. Sometimes you need those healthy come to Jesus moments for both of you all to get some resolve.
Yeah. And just like you were saying, people who never have to deal with conflict, when they get into their own relationship, they're determined not to argue.
Right.
But a lot of times that's not healthy, because, you just end up giving in to everything the other person wants.
Right.
And, or vice versa. You think arguing is not normal. The word of God even speaks about, be angry, but don't sin.
Not, yes.
And
right.
so you're going to get angry. You're going to have conflicts, just like Evan was talking about earlier, the scripture, not letting the sun go down on your wrath.
Right.
Meaning there are going to be times in your relationship where you're going to feel wrath. like you're going to feel.
Like I want to choke them.
Yeah, like you're going to feel an intense amount of anger towards that person. But, not letting the sun go down on it means resolve it before that day ends.
Right.
And so that's definitely an important question to ask before you get married, because what that person has seen coming up, they're going to repeat in the marriage.
Right.
And so we want to move on to our second question. Question number 2. Who's changing these diapers?
Yes. So who's changing these diapers is a big deal, and it's not all what you think, but it has a lot to do with, will we have children? Are we going to have children? And if we have children, you going to change these diapers? You going to stay up with this baby? You going to doctor's appointments? What are you going to do? So I think this is a great segue to ask your spouse, are we going to have children? Yeah. For our situation, Carl and I, when he came into our wonderful lives, like I talk about my 4 beautiful angels. It's like, but I do have 4 beautiful daughters, I will say that. But that is something that Carl and I had discussed because as I have yet to have my tubes tied, and it's weird. And I think I've shared this with Carl before, but I've shared this with other people that I've talked to. I have a 6-year-old, and when I found out I was pregnant with her, I was actually going to get my tubes tied. I was at the doctor's office at my appointment. So when Miss London came to the scene of my life, that shocked me because I thought I was done. I didn't want to have any children, but I did say, and I didn't think I was getting divorced either. But I did tell God that if I were to remarry again and my husband didn't have children, that I would have one child for him in order to have him to have someone to live out our legacy together. So I did have that promise to God, and it was a private promise of my own, but and I shared that with Carl. So we've had that discussion, and he knows, I will have one little person for him. So whenever the Lord allows it to happen, but you definitely need to have those conversations, especially. And I would say age plays an important part in that too, because we are older. I'm 39. No, am I 39? Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got a little blonde moment. I'm 39 and he's 35. So those are some things that you need to talk about because your spouse may not want to have children.
Yeah.
And you do. And there's been many situations where one spouse may not and the other one does. And that can honestly bring about an issue. Can you pause it?
Yeah. And so that's definitely an important aspect to speak on, because when you may go into a relationship and the person tells you, I don't want to have kids. Mm-hmm. And you think that just because I love this person, just because, we're so in love, that's going to carry you. But it's going to create friction and,
sure will.
And just
a conflict
in the relationship. And so listen to people when they tell you what they want. And then on the flip side of that, be honest about what you want. Don't say you want kids and you really don't.
Right.
Don't say you don't want kids and you really do. Don't say these things just to appease the other person. But be honest in your position coming in. Don't tell the person what you think they want to hear just to win them over, because it's not going to end up well for you.
That's true.
And so be honest, and then be honest about what you're willing to do if you do have kids.
Children, right.
I told Ebony straight up, I said, I don't mind feeding. I don't mind doing a lot. I don't mind the walks and the car seats and all that great stuff and feeding the baby food. But I said I don't like changing diapers. I said I don't like changing diapers. I mean, I know I would have to change diapers. It's not that big a deal. I've just never. Me and my sister are 10 years apart. So when she was a baby, I was 10. And so I did have to, change diapers and do all that stuff. And I never liked changing diapers. And so. Yeah, I don't want our baby to have some severe rash because
Father God, Jesus,
I'm just saying,
Lord. But no, saying. And on another note of that too, also discuss how many children you want. Yeah. I think that's a huge deal because children change the trajectory of your finances as well. So if you are not clear, you might be a factory. Honest to God, I tell anybody in my family will attest and tell you they never thought I would have 4 children. I said I wanted 2 children. 4 was going to be my limit, but never even to this day, I'm like, oh my God, I have 4 daughters, and I have four daughters at that. So, but you really need to discuss, how many children we want, and that even shapes into, okay, with these 4 children, who's going to stay home because finances now, if anybody knows about having children, daycare is a beast. You can spend anywhere upwards between $130 to $175 a week in childcare alone. Diapers, baby wipes, like you said, formula if you're not breastfeeding, even that, buying a breast pump. I mean, it's expensive to have a little you running around in this world. So if you are going to do that, that needs to be discussed and be honest. Don't tell that person that you will give them a baby just to keep them. That is a horrible thing to do. You're doing yourself a disservice and you're doing them a disservice. Don't stay or don't, I would say this, don't be with someone in that way, in that regard, that doesn't match. I don't want to say don't be with them, but really think about that, because that desire is never going to leave you, especially if you're a woman or a man. It's not going to leave you. If that's something that you're really passionate about, and if that's a deal breaker for you, really be prayerful and really think your decision through.
Yeah, so that's our second question to ask before getting married. Who's changing these diapers?
Who's changing this little baby's booty?
So, or do you want kids?
Or do you want them? Right, because you might not want to see no little booties running around your house.
Okay. So our third question that we're gonna look up is, are you over your ex? And I think this is the most lied about question.
To the left.
Answer. This is the most. It's the most lied about. You know, it's hard to get over someone you spent so much time with, that you've dedicated yourself for, even that you changed yourself for.
Wow.
You became a different person to suit this person's needs. And we all do it. We all do it in relationships.
Right.
You know, it's not always a bad thing, but you know, we all have to do it to fit that person's needs at times. So
yes.
Are you over your ex, or, you know, is the influence from your ex still there? That's a big question, because a lot of times we'll come into a new relationship and we'll try to do what pleased our ex to our new partner.
Come on now. That's good.
And it's like, they may not even want that.
That might not fit.
It may not fit them. And so you have to learn. I think one of the most awkward things for me and Ebony after we got married was just learning each other, because it's like, okay, I did this with my ex, but she doesn't like that, or she would say I did this with my ex, but I don't like that.
Right.
So you literally have to be willing to change. You just can't come into, I think on a previous podcast, I said, you know, just because you cook and you clean, that doesn't make you a good
wife,
woman
or a good man,
wife, whatever.
Yeah.
Because he may not even care about that stuff. You know, he may be fine with eating out every day, or you know, he was raised in a very clean house, so he don't mind cleaning up. You have to find out what makes you a good woman to him, and then you have to adjust, and vice versa. You know, you have to find out what makes you a good man to that woman.
Right.
And so you know, you have to let go of the influence of your ex. You know, sometimes you're over your ex. If you can answer that question, say yes, I'm over my ex, but are you over the influence that they had on your life? And so there are a lot of things to consider, and do not lie about this question. Listen, it's okay. If I would have met Ebony and she would have said, I'm not over my ex, would we have been in a relationship? I honestly don't know. I don't know, but at least I would have had the information I needed, so that a year down the road, I couldn't say I never knew that. Right. You know, and so just give people the chance to choose you or not choose you. I mean, I know that's a hard thing for us to do, but be honest in you answering the question. And sometimes people answer the question non-verbally. So you have to pay attention to the signs. You have to pay attention.
That's real good.
To if they still text them every day, if they still call them every day, if they are.
You just want to say it, even if y'all friends on social media,
whatever. Like,
ooh, Lord,
if they liking every picture, if they comment on every, like, you have to pay attention to the signs. And so, it's an important question.
And I will say this too, you know, with not just, you know, being over your ex, but is it helping your relationship? Is it hindering your relationship? Because some things that you've learned from your previous relationships, I will say this, can honestly help you in a positive way. There may be some past behaviors that you had with that person, and now you say, you know what? Oh, I remember if I had a conversation with them and that didn't go over so well, so maybe I can't talk to this person. You know, everything's not always bad. So people don't think that everything's not always bad. There are some positive things that came out of your previous relationships. I think some people think just because people break up, you know, there were some good lessons that you learned. They taught you something in order to be able to be better equipped for your new next. I would say that your past relationships equipped you to be honestly prepared for your new one, for your new relationship. Yeah. And like Carl said, be open and be honest. And that's one thing we both said, you know, we both asked each other, you know, are you done? Because if you're not done, if that person is still lingering, if you're still having regrets, it's not going to be healthy. And if you are, and even if it's not even like an ex-husband, if it's an ex-boyfriend, say, you know what, because when Carl and I first started dating, I told him, I just got out of a relationship. You don't want to talk to me. I told him that. I was upfront and I was honest with them. I said, I will allow you to be my friend. Now, if you want to stay my friend, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. But I was upfront. I was honest with them. I told him, and I don't want to say did myself a disservice, but I talked to him about the issues that I experienced with my ex. Yeah. So he knew, I know some people say, going into relationships, being broken and hurt. I believe a first sign of entering a relationship is you have to be someone's friend. Yeah. And for me, I knew I wasn't ready to be in a relationship. I needed somebody to be a friend. I needed to decompress, get over some things, and then possibly, if it progresses, amen. If not, no love lost, because I was honest and upfront. And I think that is the biggest point. Be honest, be upfront, and don't get mad if you don't hear the answer that you want to hear.
Yeah, because it's you're never going to compete with the next.
Yeah.
If that person is not over their edge, because that's
right.
history. That's time in. That it has nothing to do with what kind of job they had, how good the money was, right. how good the sex was, whatever.
That, right.
It has nothing to do with that. You cannot compete with history. You just can't. Anyone out there that's watching this video that has ever had someone hung up on their ex, they could be the worst person in the world, right. but they just can't let them go. So do not try to compete with the next, because you're not going to win.
You're not.
And so just be willing enough. Don't be so hard up that you say, well, eventually they'll get over, or eventually, listen, you're not going to win that battle. You are not. If anybody has won that battle, please drop a comment.
Right. Let us know. We want to interview you.
We really want to know, because a person that is not over their ex, they're not over the past. They're
right.
And they can't see the future. You can't move on to the future and enjoy the present,
right.
if you're still living in the past. So you have to be wise enough to say, they're not over their ex. I'm not gonna go down this road,
right?
And have that honest and open conversation.
Now, if you want to wait, if you want to be their friend, if that's an option on the table, because some people do leave that option, for friendship. That's your choice as well. But knowing, and I'll say this again, go in knowing that you're just a friend. Don't try to push up. Don't try to, I don't want to say do more than. Don't try to make them, what's the phrase people say? I'm going to make you love me.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Be their friend.
You're going to love me.
and you. It's not going to happen. If they're not having that love and feeling for you, it's not going to happen. Let their heart get healed. Let their heart be touched. Show them qualities. Now, I will say this. If you want that person and you believe that God has placed y'all together, if you believe that there's hope, if you believe, that this woman or man may have qualities and you want to hold out, do whatever you feel needed to do, but don't be stupid.
Yeah.
Don't be stupid. One thing I appreciated about Carl was he was not stupid. I was honest with him. Now, after we started dating, he did tell me that I had a time limit in the friend zone. I was a little offended by that because I didn't know that. But again, my mindset, we were both honest and clear. I just wanted a friend.
Yeah.
So, and keep that in mind too. Some people that you friend zone, they may be that person in your life that it may be good for you, but just keep that knowledge in the forefront. If they say just friends, just be their friend. And
I'll say this is that a lot of people can identify with that, because I did say, after we got together, I said, I wasn't going to wait around forever. I mean, it was
Excuse me?
And that's a mistake a lot of people make. A lot of people
right.
make a mistake. And
True.
And there are a lot of people watching this video where you look back and say that person was interested in me,
Right.
but I was wasting time with somebody. It wasn't going anywhere.
Right.
Hung up on your ex, and now the person that was interested in you, they're married.
Yeah.
They're progressing with life, and you're like, I want it. Like I didn't notice them. I was too stupid to understand that could have been me.
Yeah.
And so just pay attention to the signs.
Right.
Have an honest conversation. Are you over your ex? And be willing to like or not like the answer.
Right.
So moving on, 13 questions before you should ask before I say I do. Question number 4. How important is religion to you?
Ooh, Lord.
This is a
deal breaker.
firework.
This is a biblical Lord, people could lose their life over this. This is honestly a really, I know we laughing about it, but this is an important question, because for some people, this is the foundation of their life.
It is.
And I've known people that have converted from one religion to another religion for spouses just to be with them. And, even in the Bible speaks about it, and you heard it preached about, how can two walk together lest they agree, about being unequally yoked, about this is a huge major thing. And I mean, this can be a really a deal breaker.
It is. Bottom line,
It's a deal breaker
it's
for some.
either it's one of those things where there's no in between. It's
Right.
either, just like some people, there's no in between. When you meet them, you're either gonna love them or hate them.
Right.
There's
Are you in or are you out?
in-between.
Right. There ain't no gray in this one, boo. There ain't no gray. No shade. No 50 shades of gray on this one.
Yeah.
Not at all. And then with not even about, not also incorporated with religion, is how will you celebrate religion? Your religious beliefs, and even spending time with families, holiday times, for both of our families. Some of my main support system, my mom and my dad and my sister are in Ohio, but Carl's family is down here. But I still engage with my family here too, because I have family here in Atlanta. So even that whole balancing act. So yes, you need to definitely narrow down the religious. What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are our Christian beliefs? What is it that we believe? Because some people say that they're Christians. Everybody has different definitions. So you need to be very explicitly clear on what you believe and why you believe it.
And I'm gonna say this because we kind of experienced this.
Oh Lord.
No, I'm not going into no detail, but I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say that when it comes to religion, if you're following Christ, you're following Christ. Okay, let me just say that. Now, there was a story in the Bible where Jesus' disciples, his 12, his 70, whatever, however many you want to count or include, they rebuked some other people for operating the same way they was operating. But Jesus looks at them and says, were they doing it in my name? Were they operating according to what I'm teaching? They said, yes. Then Jesus says, why are you stopping them? Why are you rebuking them? Now, let me say this. I've crossed over denominational lines before, so it's not a big deal to me. Everybody has merit points, and it can be backed up by Bible.
Right.
But if there was a reason Christ's disciples was walking separate from the ones that was doing other works. The ones that were doing other works weren't wrong, but they didn't agree apparently on some doctrinal things. So you have to find someone that not only, let's say you're a Christian, not only is a Christian like you,
right,
but you agree on the same
doctrinal beliefs.
And
yes.
And let me be clear. I grew up Kojic. Then I was trained in a non-denominational Pentecostal. Now I'm apostolic. If you ask me, it don't matter to me. As long as I'm following Christ, as long as you believe in repentance, baptism, filled with the Holy Ghost, whatever. To me, because I've seen God operate across different denominations. So they all have Bibles to back them up. They all have scriptures to back them up. So, but my thing is this: you have to believe doctrinal beliefs, because a lot of times it's not religion that divides people.
Right.
It's doctrinal
Beliefs.
beliefs. You know, there are over, I researched it one time, there are over like 13,000 denominations.
Right.
But they all believe in Christ, like because they can agree on certain doctrinal principles. So listen, I'm not saying that what somebody else believes is wrong because they got Bible to back it up, but you have to believe
The same
doctrinal
doctrine,
things
beliefs.
that person believes.
Yes.
You know, Paul separated from the young man because they couldn't get along. I can't remember. That's how Paul ended up with Silas. But Paul separated himself from someone else. And I know somebody watching this biblical scholar. I just have it in front of me right now. But no, but because they didn't agree on
Right.
certain things. The same thing with Christ's disciples and the other disciples that was operating in Christ's name. Christ says, don't rebuke them for doing it because they're doing it in my name. You may not agree with how they're doing it. You know, you may, and let me just mess with all my people out there. You may be saying,
Oh Lord. See, look. See,
I'm
he
just-
always be
I'm
getting
just
on me.
saying, I'm just
Stick to
saying,
the text.
I'm just
okay.
saying,
We will
I'm-
say
I'm
this.
just saying,
Make sure your doctrinal
make sure
beliefs
that you
are
believe
the same. And I will say
doctrinal
this
beliefs.
as well. And I know my mom won't care if I share this because this is a part of her and my dad's testimony. And it's a beautiful testimony. When my parents first were married, my dad was not a believer. And my mom was a believer, but she believed what God said and God made her a promise. And that's a big deal as well. You know, there are people that are in church and their spouse may not be in church. And if they're and their spouse have had this conversation and they are settled with it, leave those people alone. Because I know of people that have outsiders that have tried to influence. If they have sat down as two grown adults and her husband or her wife has said, you know what, you go to church, I believe in God, I'm a Christian. He may not feel like he needs all that and she's okay with it or he's okay with those, leave those people alone. Because that works for them. That is a choice that they have made together. I will say that. And I totally believe that because I would say for my family and my mom, and like I said, my mom's testimony is a beautiful testimony, but she believed what God told her. God told her, I'm going to save your husband. Yeah. It's going to be rough a little bit, but I'm going to save your husband. And thanks be to God, my dad got the Holy Ghost, baptized in Jesus' name. Now my dad's assistant pastor, preaches and teaches, the sweetest man. And that's not everybody's story. So I will say that's not everybody's story, but I will say this. When you are dating or getting to know your person, make sure that you all have the same doctrinal beliefs. Now, and if you want to convert over to them, if they want to switch over to you, that's great. That's wonderful. But make sure that you guys both agree, because it is a horrible thing to be in a relationship with someone that doesn't believe what you believe.
Yeah. So go in there up front, make that decision.
Yes.
And be confident in your decision. There's nothing wrong. Listen, God doesn't have any shortage of people in the world.
There's a lot of us out here in these streets.
There are 6 billion people in the world.
Right.
Just because they don't agree with your doctrinal beliefs don't mean that the world is over and you're never going to find
nobody. Right.
Find somebody that believes what you believe and leave other people alone. That's how I feel.
Right. And I will say this too, and even in regards to that, because even how, and I know we touched on a little bit, but even how you celebrate the holidays, there are some Christians that don't believe in Christmas trees.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for you may have grown up. That's all you seen. Your house decorated. You got no offense. You got Jesus on the outside in the manger, even though he wasn't a baby in the manger, but you got Jesus in the manger. Then you got the tree. Then you got Santa Claus running. So just even with that, make sure that you agree on that too.
Yeah.
Because, some people they don't think they need all of that. And also even about holidays, how you'll spend time in church together. Talk about those things, I love how Carl and I have it worked out for us. And to me, I think it works great. For the first half of the day, we go over his family's house. And then for the second part of the holidays, we go over my family's house. And that works out great. Everybody gets to meet and mingle and love and kiss on each other. And it's wonderful. But talk about that, because that can be very, that's a big deal for some people. Some people's like, no, we're only going over my family's house and we'll see your parents or your family the next day.
Yeah.
And that can really hurt an individual. I know people like, oh, that's so petty and childish. No, it is 2018 and people still are like that. So that is something that you honestly need to discuss, even if it's rotating holidays, even if it's Thanksgiving, we go to your family's house, Christmas, we come to my family's house, Easter, all of that, even far as even going to church. Some families do church together as far as the holidays. They may spend Easter, come down like my mom. She comes down for the Easter holidays to spend Easter with us. Stuff like that honestly needs to be discussed. And these are things that you wouldn't think about, but they need to talk about because, like the Bible says, it's those small foxes that kill the vine.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the two most important we've discussed so far are having children.
Yes.
How are the kids, and that also factors into religion.
Yep. How are you going to raise them?
If two people of opposing faiths or opposing doctrines have kids, and it's an argument because one person want their kid submerged in water, and one person want their kid sprinkled in. Like that's gonna be
a knockdown drag out.
That's gonna be World War III.
You like, don't sprinkle my baby.
And I'm not disrespecting nobody's stuff.
Right.
So
but
I'm not
this is the truth, and we weren't trying to help.
No, I'm not speaking on that. But I'm just saying, what you believe is what you believe. And make sure
that's right.
The person that I'm telling you, especially when it comes down to kids, some Christians don't believe in celebrating Easter. You ain't dressing my child up in no Easter because it's a pagan. I'm telling you,
yes,
and they're not wrong, and that's the thing. They're not. Some of the stuff we celebrate is paganism, and that's all I'm saying. I'm not gonna touch on that.
Jesus.
But it doesn't mean that person is wrong. Right. You just have to know
what you're getting.
Does what they believe line up with what I believe, and that's it. That's make your decision on that and leave it alone, because I'm telling you, down the road. Yes. People get divorced over this stuff.
Yes, they do.
People get into physical fights. The police have to be called. Like people, I'm telling you.
And people families have honestly been there's been tension. There's been rifts. There's been
divided.
It's been divided. People will cry well, why didn't you come to our church service on Easter? Yeah. Or why didn't you celebrate Good Friday with us? And it's the truth, and you need to honestly, like I say, we're going to ask you, we're going to talk to you about stuff that other people are not going to ask you to talk to you about, because you need to know these things. You need to know, are we raising, you could be of a different faith, are we raising our children Muslim? Are we raising them Catholic? Are our children going to an all Catholic school and we believe so? Talk about it.
I've never
talk about it.
I've had Christian friends that marry Muslims. I mean, and they're women. Christian women marry Muslims. I'm like, you're not willing to abide by what they believe. I'm not even speaking on the validity of their faith. I'm just talking about what is required of you as a Muslim wife. You're not going to abide by that stuff. So why would you put yourself in that position and just because, I love them, and then 2 years later you're divorced and you're going around telling everybody they crazy. They wanted me to wear such and such and I couldn't wear makeup, and you knew that going in. And so that's the thing. Avoid a whole lot of heartache. Avoid a whole lot of tears. Avoid a whole lot of just to have somebody. Stop doing stuff just to have people, and just have honest conversations. And the most important thing is be willing to walk away if they don't believe what you believe.
Right.
So that's a hot button topic, and have that conversation.
You need it.
Be honest.
And it's okay.
Be honest.
And it's okay.
So, question number 5. We're going into, I believe it's number 5.
Yes.
Yeah. Is my debt your debt?
Show me the money.
Ooh,
you gonna bail me out. You gonna pay off my charge cards. You gonna pay off my credit. We gonna go bankrupt together. What we gonna do, boo?
And this is definitely gonna be maybe a 2-3 part series. We'll make this our last question for this one, because this right here is probably right next to religion and childcare, because
finance.
You got perfect credit. You got an 850 score.
Whew.
You got a great job. You making $80,000-$90,000 a year.
Jesus.
You got your own business.
Jesus.
But you marry somebody that's on child support, and they can't pay the child support. The court, now that you got their last name, now the court considers your money their money. And now they gonna come after you for that child support. They gonna come after you for them student loans. Y'all can't file married jointly. You gotta file married, filing separate, because I'm telling you, debt is just,
finances is
my God,
is
debt
a
is a weight. It is a weight on the relationship,
and it's a major. Sorry, babe, for interrupting,
No,
but it's a major. That's a major deal breaker. You guys, you need to sit down and talk. I mean, and have honest conversations. I know Carl joked before and said he don't know how much I make. And even after podcast, I asked him, do you want to know how much I make? He said he still don't want to know how much I make. I don't have a problem telling him how much I make. Anyway, but you need to honestly have those, and you need to talk about your credit situation. You need to sit down and say, this is my beacon score. Can you handle me right now with this beacon score? And if you're honest, say, you know what, I know my credit score maybe not the greatest, but this is what I'm doing in order to improve it. That's wise. Don't go in and thinking that, and I don't want to say this, don't go in thinking that your spouse or your significant other is going to be the one that bails you out, because they may not feel like that. They may feel like, this is your debt, boo. You acquired this. I did not. You work out your own soul salvation and credit. You work those things there, and credits. You work out but no, seriously. And then you have to, and if you are with someone that you might be lopsided, like they may have, like Carl said, they may have the great 850 beacon score and yours may be 550, they have to maybe consider, is this person a risk or an investment? And I know people are like, ooh, that's so negative. No, some people will not be bothered with people if their credit score isn't in the right place, or their finances, if they don't have, retirement, if they don't have savings, if they don't have, annuities, if they don't have certain things, Roth IRAs. Some people like, no, I'm not messing with you.
Yeah. And it's actually a more concerning issue the older you get, because just the natural order of life. When you marry young, chances are, there's a high chance you may get divorced by the time you're in between 30s and 40s. So now that you're marrying again in your 40s and you don't own anything, and then your credit is messed up because you went through a divorce and things that get paid. Now you meet this great person and their life is together. They've never been married, or maybe they were, but they came out a little better in that situation. And now they got a 750 credit score, you got a 400 credit score, and they're looking at you like, we're 40. I want to buy a house. I want to own things. I want to be able to go to the car and to the car dealership and pick out the car that I want. Right. And you can't do it because your credit score. And listen, things happen in life. Right. We're not talking negative about anybody. But things happen. Like, we're both divorced. We know how that credit score takes a hit because, you take down that 2-income household, and now it's just 1 income, but you got the same bills. You can't make every payment on time. Right. And so we understand that things happen, but you have to be responsible and have the conversation. That's all we're saying. This Talk whole about thing is just have the conversation of, do you expect me to bail you out? Do you expect me to help you with your debt? Is your debt under control? Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with having a bad credit score as long as you're with someone who's saying, I'm working on getting it together. And not just telling you, but they're showing you, I got a secured credit card. I pay it every month, blah, blah, blah. I'm working on improving my credit. Because a lot of times it's not the fact that someone has a bad credit score. It's the fact that they're not doing anything about it. Right. And that's the dangerous thing, when you're not trying to do anything about it. And it also speaks to the credibility on if that person is able to pay things on time. Right. So that sometimes that credit score ain't lying on you. Sometimes things happen, and I told them, I said, listen, I'm going to make sure the money's in the bank. Pay the bills, pay everything on time, because I'm not the best at paying things on time. I can make the money, I can make sure the money's in the bank, but just the other day, we're laying in the bed and it's 12:30 at night, and I jump up and say, "Oh, I forgot to pay my car insurance. It was supposed to be paid by midnight." The money was there, and so I just didn't. I forgot to. If there's not an alarm going off, if I don't put it on a calendar, I'm not going to remember paying it. And so these are habits that you have to pay attention to, and be honest. I was honest with her. I said, "Listen, I'm not the best at this. You're good at this. I'm gonna put this in your hands. You got it." And so you have to have those honest conversations.
And not only that, I will say this too. For me, and I guess, and I'll just share a little bit of my life. After I became divorced, it wasn't until I was 35 until I got my first apartment by myself with my own name. Like, that was a major big step for me. And I know somebody's like, wow, like, you never know. Like, when I got married at 19. My husband was in the military. I left from my parents' house and went to another person's house. I didn't have to worry about that stuff. Yeah. So for me to have my own apartment with my own name, that was a big deal. And for another woman or another man starting all over again, and you maybe not were responsible for certain things like that, that's a big deal. And that's a big step. And I am all about having a budget. I mean, people make fun of me. My friends have laughed at me. Like, I have a budget probably all the way until July, but I know, especially, your bills, the bills come every month. Ain't nothing changing. Certain bills are on auto draft. Certain bills are not on auto draft. I will say this too. Even think about checking the savings accounts. Some people just have one account and they put everything in, and that maybe works for you all. Carl and I, we have a joint account together and we have our own separate accounts. You have to come up with what works best for your family. And one thing I always told Carl, we ain't never going to be without electricity. We ain't never going to be without gas. I ain't sleeping in no car. So that's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to sleep in no car, and we going to have food. Why? Because I like to eat, and so do my kids. So you have to be very intentional and sit down and discuss your bills. We even did it. We wrote everything down. And if like Carl said, if you're not good in that area, but your spouse is, let that person take that over. Show them, let them know, hey, babe. And I tell, I don't want to say I don't have to, but I let my spouse know, like, hey, I paid this is what I taken care of, all of the major, what we consider major is lights, water, cable, rent. I let him know all of the major bills have been taken care of. So whatever else you want to do outside of that, or however else we want to spend, that's great, fine, and wonderful. But yeah, we are accountable to each other like that. And I believe if you are honest with your partner and you sit down and talk to them, they can be a great resource. They can be a great help. But don't go in lying about finances. Yeah. That will kill a relationship. I think, honestly, that's the number 2 breakup reason for marriages dissolving, because people are not honest about their finances.
Yeah, and when you said bank accounts, it's funny when I talk to a lot of young couples or people that are thinking about getting married or have been married for a while. They are so strict on doing what their parents did. Right. Well, my parents only had one account, so we still only have one account. No. Listen, everything is not. This is not a cookie cutter situation. Right. Everything's not the same. There's nothing wrong with having a joint account, having separate accounts. There's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. As long as you two make the decision. Right. Stop allowing other people or your past or your history to make the decision on how bills should be paid in your house. If I don't want to just have one account. Right. Just me and Ebony. Like that's because if I put something in the joint account now, she know it's to take care of bills. So, but if we just have one account and I put money in there and I intend it for bills and she take it to go get her nails done, or if she put money in there and I take it to go and get my hair cut or wash my car or whatever, and then a bill bounce or something doesn't get paid, that doesn't work for us. I'm like, listen, I don't know when you're going to get your nails done. I don't know when you're going to get your hair done. You got your own account for that. Right. You don't know when I go buy stuff, when I go do whatever. You know that, these
The major bills is taken care of.
Major stuff taken care
That's
of.
all we care about.
In the joint account is used for bills.
Right. So
it's in there, pay it.
Right. And then also I will say this too, and I just thought about something. It's okay to have a separate account, because if I want to surprise, now I will say this. If you want to surprise your spouse, it's kind of hard to surprise them if you're pulling from one main account, because if you're like me, sometimes we have money in the extra joint account and I'm like, well, what's that about? I might want to use it. And it may not be meant for me to use. You know, you need, I'm a firm believer of, you should have a separate account, because you might want to treat your spouse to something. You might want to buy them flowers. You might want to buy them a pair of shoes. You might want to take them to dinner, and you might not want them to know. Yeah. And if they're always checking the account, you know, in order to avoid a fight too, because you're like, well, who you buying shoes for, boo? You know, who you buying flowers for, you know? I
saw 1-800-Flowers on
right, like who? Because I ain't got them yet. You know, you like, chill, boo. But no, seriously, like, I think you should have your own account in order to, you know, if you do want to surprise your spouse and do things like that, because it does make it a little bit more easier. Now, if you doing some underhanded, shady stuff, that's different. Yeah. But be upfront and be honest. You know, like they say, what's done in the dark gonna come out the light anyway.
Hey, whatever works for you.
Whatever works for you.
If y'all been married for 5-10 years and all y'all got is that one joint account,
that's
y'all
wonderful.
Make it happen,
wonderful.
Hey, that's wonderful. Please let us know how you do that.
I mean, and we know it can be done, but it's all about your personal preference. Like, I think, you know, sometimes we both like it. If I'm like, hey, I got some extra money, you want to go this? He's like, oh, you do? Okay, cool. You know, it takes the pressure off. And sometimes I don't want to say like it's a business transaction, but it's okay to help your spouse. You know, we're not in the competition with each other. Yeah. You know, I'm not like, oh, you got 10,000 in your savings. I got 8. No, I'm here to help. We're here to help. This is us. Yeah. We building each other up. So just be mindful and be honest about your financial situation.
Yeah. So we've gone through the first 5 questions of the 13 questions to ask before you say I do before marriage. So this is going to be part 1 of maybe 2 or 3 parts. So
no, this is part 1. I was going to teach you and say we should go to 6, you know, make it even. But he's the editor and producer, so I just smile and like the Stepford Wives, like.
So we appreciate you all for tuning in. And next week, part 2 will be available of 13 questions to ask before you say I do. Once again, my name is Carl Butler. Here with my lovely wife, Ebony Butler. And we want you to subscribe and like our channel.
Yes, like our channel.
Tune out. Also follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at the Loveless Marriage across all social media platforms. Until next time, we will see you later. Have a great day.
Have a great day, everyone.